over time, where I saw there was like a change in the way healthcare was done from a productivity and an insurance side, it almost didn't matter how I treated that one patient. It mattered how many patients I could get in. And to me, that is not why I got into helping patients. It was to help the patient get better, not to write the correct word to check a box for the insurance company. When I decided to kind of shift outside of clinical care, I found a company that was working in the immersive healthcare world, and I've seen the patients in the system. I've seen the benefits, the outcomes, and I knew that it would be successful. So when they decided to step away from the immersive world, myself and one of the engineers and the art designers there, we decided as the three of us to co-found AVRwell. The startup journey is so much more uncertain, and honestly, I absolutely love it. I wouldn't change it for the world.
Hello and welcome to the Uprising Show. And today I have another special guest from Nashville. This is the second one I'm doing in a row, a lady from Nashville. So I was just saying to my guest, definitely the women in Nashville are crushing it. so, so welcome, Emily Davis, and welcome to the Uprising Show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be able to talk with you today. So thank you for asking me to be here.
So why don't you give us like a 1 minute intro to our listeners, and then we will go into the conversation.
Absolutely. So my name is Emily Davis. I'm a physical therapist. I've been a PT for about 10 years, 15 years, but 10 of them was in the clinic, and the last 5 was in the immersive healthcare world. So I've been in healthcare for the last 15 years, but truly in patient care for about 10. So just recently, last November, my colleagues and we co-founded a company called AVRwell, and we're really excited to see the future of immersive healthcare and how it can really kind of progress over the next 5 years, because for the last 5, I've seen so much happening. So I'm really excited. But it's a little about me.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. This is this is definitely the reason we wanted you on this show, because we started exploring immersive tech, especially in healthcare. We've already spoken with a few different companies doing different areas, and it's a really fascinating space. It's still early, but also I feel like after being in healthcare for so long, I think one thing is clear, that we are going to see more success with this technology in the healthcare world coming from health systems and hospital systems for the patients versus just gaming and direct to consumer. that's
Absolutely.
just because the utility is far more greater and it's going to solve bigger problems. So we're going to talk about that, but let's go back first in time.
Yes.
And where did you grow up? Where were you born? And were either of your parents in healthcare or doctor? Tell us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Shockingly, neither of my parents were in healthcare. I grew up in Solon, Ohio. Solon was a small little suburb just southeast of Cleveland. So right there in the snow belt, got a good amount of snow and cold up there. But my mom was an elementary school teacher. She taught for 48 years before retiring. So she was very much in that world of helping individuals, but in a maybe different aspect than necessarily what I've done. But my dad worked in IT. So that's kind of where the technology side of me comes from. I kind of think that it's a very good combination of probably what created my want to be in healthcare and technology nowadays. But I actually was surrounded by a lot of good, strong role models in my childhood. My aunt was a nurse in the oncology unit at University Hospitals in Cleveland. So I did have healthcare somewhere in my extended family, but I was the first one and only one in my immediate family that pursued a career in the healthcare field. So I really, and I was active growing up in sports. So even though I did want to become someone to help others, so I was honestly thinking a lot about teaching because of my mother. I actually got injured in sports. I played volleyball in college, and that was kind of the first real injuries was in college. And I broke my wrist, I fractured my ankle, I had a concussion. So I really had gotten to experience physical therapy at its best, and how it can help someone recover and get back to full force, basically, as far as sports go. So that kind of opened my eyes up into the healthcare world, and that's really where, for me, where I started to look into physical therapy and rehab and all of those different areas of the healthcare world. So, but yeah, growing up, I was just a very clumsy athlete. is basically where we're at.
That's funny.
So,
Yeah, thanks for sharing. So, guess I have three things to say here. One, I'm very close to where you are. I'm in Pittsburgh, so
yeah,
that's pretty close to where you
yeah,
were at.
your
For,
neighbors.
yeah, exactly. And second, my mom, 35 years as a teacher, and then she retired. So I had a
Yes,
lot of. I give her a lot of credit of this quality I have of also. I enjoy teaching. To say this.
yes,
And
absolutely.
and the third thing, I always this is a pattern I'm noticing is like everybody in healthcare, be it on the provider side, be it founders building companies. It's I have coined this term. I should trademark it now. It's called the positive trauma. Everybody has suffered through
Yeah,
something, and that
yeah,
in your case, it's the clumsiness. Let's say.
yes, yes,
So, but that turns into building something, and that's like the entry point of like, let me go
yes,
or let me do this thing so that either I don't have to go through or someone else don't have to go through again, and that's how it starts.
absolutely.
Uh, it's wild, but that's kind of how I would say. Like since I started this media network, and I've spoken to like many providers and healthcare founders, and this is like a common theme. Um,
Yeah,
Fascinating. So you have spent years now in obviously direct patient care across outpatient, orthopedic, neuro, and then home settings. What's one moment from that hands-on chapter that changed your definition of what healing actually is? Something you don't read in textbook or wasn't taught to you in your DPT
yeah.
program. Talk to us about that.
I think, going through school and going through going through all the textbooks and learning everything, like, so that I knew it backwards and forwards. Um, when I came out and started my clinical career, and my first evaluation was an amputee bilateral, I was like, oh no, we didn't spend a lot of time on this. So I immediately, was like, okay, I need to take, yes, everything that I learned, but I now need to look at the person as a whole. And honestly, like, I don't think I could pinpoint an exact moment other than that specific one, because I still remember every single patient I treated. I still remember kind of every single clinician I worked with. I'm very thankful for every single person I got to work with in my career, because they truly helped me, from PTs, OTs, speech therapists. They truly helped me learn every aspect of the care of the patient. So really allowing me to have that idea of who is this patient as a whole, not just their diagnosis or this one symptom or this one issue that they're experiencing. It's, how can I look at this patient as a whole, and how can I help this patient not just physically but also mentally? Because a lot of times the healing journey is very hard, tough mentally on the patient as well. I did a lot of patient care in the neuro side. Obviously, I saw a good portion of my orthopedics, my total joint replacements. I did a lot of geriatric care in the home care settings, memory care, things like that. But my bread and butter was within the neuro world. And whenever you really treat a neuro patient, no patient's the same. And when I started working with my neuro patients, that's really kind of what shaped how I treated my patients in a way, because not every small movement, every small step forward, every goal that they needed all had to be addressed differently. And we really had to take into account how the patient was healing and how the patient was moving that day. So it wasn't going to be like, oh, how they ended the last session. It was, okay, how are we doing today? Let's reassess and make sure that we can go from here. Over time, I really did start to realize patient care was my favorite part. I loved every single one of my patients. And honestly, if I had a choice, I still go and treat patients. I still try and help people as much as possible. I helped my neighbor's son who had a stroke just recently, like last 2 years ago or so, he had a stroke, and I would go over and help treat him. I wasn't even, working for like a physical therapy company at that time. I was actually doing immersive healthcare at that time. So I just want to be with patients to help them recover. I, over time, where I saw there was like a change in the way healthcare was being done from a productivity and an insurance side, um, it almost didn't matter the way I documented, or it didn't matter like how I treated that one patient. It mattered how many patients I could get in, and it mattered certain words that I had to write in my documentation. And to me, that is not why I got into rehab. That is not why I got into helping patients. It was to help the patient get better, not to write the correct word to check a box for the person behind the desk at the insurance company to approve another visit for them. So it was starting to get to the point where how can I reach more people than I can do in a day with just like the 8 to 10 people that I may be seeing in home care or in the neuro inpatient world. Like how can I get to more people, and how can I get to them without the red tape of insurance companies? And I started to try and brainstorm more, and being in the immersive healthcare world for the last 5 years, it helped me kind of grow on how this can really scale and be accessible for so many people to help them get better and help their outcomes and help them be more independent. And that's ultimately why I got into PT in the end.
Yeah. And I know like this is obviously a lot of discussion I have with a lot of PTs as well. It's you know, there's a term everybody uses like in, the big box commodity PT, how they run it. There's just like, it's like a 8-minute meal. You just have to get it done, and
Yeah.
any provider, none of them enjoy it. Like, it's just kind of, right? So, um, the question for you is like, from your experience, um, this is more of, I guess, where you think of this, because I see there is this wave of, at least in middle class to upper middle class in America, there is like pretty much we, in that everybody's thinking of physical therapy more of, not anymore a good to have, but a must have, like almost like treated like, oh, we should do it. Everyone should have it, even if it's the start of the pain or even if it's preventative, right? Like to that level, right? So do you think this is giving more of a, uh, more membership models going to come in PT, for example? Is this what you are also noticing? What's your experience? How are you seeing it?
Yeah, I am seeing more physicians and doctors really seeing early intervention as a very big part to their patients' outcomes and recovery, and not just like short term, long term recovery, right? So like making sure that that patient stays at the level that they can be independent in the long term, not just in that short term. Um, so I do see a shift in that thought process as far as needing physical therapy. Where I worry is in the shift, we need to have the shift in insurance coverage. So like a lot of patients will continue to pay out of pocket because their insurance has stopped. So mainly just lobbying to make sure that insurance companies understand the importance of it, so that patients can get the coverage that they need for that care. And I think patients and physicians are seeing the need for it. And PTs are providing in so many different ways that they can provide to the patient. But ultimately, it's just proving to those insurance companies that this is needed. This is going to help decrease the healthcare costs by allowing us to work with the patient and have an early intervention and work with them for the allotted time that is needed for their recovery. Because ultimately, it will cut down on the cost of the patient's healthcare in the end because they're healthy. It's preventative, you know? So I do agree with that. I just hope that we continue to lobby for that as well.
Yeah, it's always the biggest risk is when people are not able to, provide pay for it, right? And that's where it becomes and it's always going to be elder populations because they are the one who are retired, right? So it's always very tricky in a way that yes, we want to make sure that we want to provide all those things, but then with this cautiousness that, oh my god, these people might fall off because of that, right? The coverage might go away for them. So um, let's talk about your company. So what led for you to, you know, what was for you like, oh, I'm going to become a co-founder for this company? And what was like I guess what was the first thing that you saw, like, this is the reason I want to start it? What was the why that led you to building the company? And then also talk to us a little bit about, you have this redefining the rehab experience. Talk us about that as well, how that works in your world.
Yeah. So I worked in obviously the clinic for 10 years, but then when I decided to kind of shift outside of clinical care, I found a company that was working in the immersive healthcare world. They were starting into that world, creating a virtual reality all-in-one system basically for rehab. And when I was there, I was learning all the ins and outs of what virtual reality can provide in a rehab setting. How can it provide benefits to the patient? How can it provide benefits to the clinician? What the research is supporting it, the evidence-based practice that is being utilized, and also the technology behind it. Because I think just with the IT background that is my brother and my dad are IT, so I think just the sheer curiosity behind the technology, I would kind of nose my way into the engineers and the developers, and I'm like, what are you doing? How is this going? Like, explain this to me so that I could learn a little bit more in that sense. So after about 5 years of working with them, I was the I was the clinical utilization manager there. And that basically nationwide helped with training, application, and utilization across the entire healthcare facilities that we worked with. I got to know kind of how to implement, utilize, and train. And also, I had to know the system inside and out. So when they decided to step away from the immersive world, myself and one of the engineers and the art designers there, we decided that we didn't think this was done. We thought we were on that uphill climb at the previous company, and we are there, and people want immersive healthcare, and it is shown that it is in our clinical practice guides now for physical therapy. So it's showing the benefits and the use of it. It is something that is actually being recommended for care. So I didn't feel like that journey was over. And so we decided, the three of us, to co-found AVRwell. And as the clinician, I bring that clinical mindset and the clinical thought behind the applications and the deployment. So basically, by being in that world, I just knew how beneficial it was. And I've seen the patients in the system. I've seen the benefits, the outcomes, and I've seen how clinicians have used it. And I knew that it would be successful. It just needed a little bit more time. And I felt like by us being able to get into this world and create the AVRwell brand and the AVRwell content, that we can be able to access more individuals, clinicians, and patients, but also provide that ease of use and that accessibility to be a little bit easier for clinicians and patients to use. And also not necessarily be out of reach for smaller clinics price wise. Sometimes the cost or the budget came into play as being a problem. So we were just taking all these little small things that we learned from our previous company that we all three worked at, and we kind of redefined how immersive healthcare can work in the healthcare world, in rehab, in nursing, and any type of area, whether it's wellness or rehabilitation. Obviously, we do focus a lot on rehabilitation, just with my PT background. But we do have, even in physical therapy, we do need relaxation and some anxiety relief techniques and things like that. So we do have a few things on our content list that involve like more of a relief suite, progressive muscle relaxation, things like that. We still use as PTs, but we are still mainly focusing on very active rehab. So basically, by starting that as a physical therapist, it didn't sit right with me that we had to, like, as a clinician, that if I'm reducing visits, just like we were speaking of for patients, that maybe having immersive healthcare, not only in the clinic, but outside of the clinic, can support those patients, maybe even after they no longer can get in clinic care, that we can actually help patients get better in the long run. So, so I mean, we're just trying to deliver that care to not only help patients move better, but also to help them feel better, support their mental health, reducing pain, helping them progress outside of that limited window that we may have and with insurance companies or hospital settings or things like that. But allowing hospitals to be able to use this as content that can help their patients get better faster, to help kind of promote the neuroplastic changes in their patient and get them better and allow them to feel comfortable with discharging their patient, knowing that they're independent or close to being independent or safe at home. So there's so many different avenues that, XR and immersive healthcare can provide, from the hospital setting all the way to the home.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you to unpack this a little bit more. So this is software and hardware both. That's the solution you give it to and you're saying the majorly the clients are hospitals and hospital systems and clinics. I'm assuming that's how you're doing it.
So what we actually determined is, with the hardware, one thing, the hardware has been progressing so quickly. So one thing that we found is that we are just a content provider. We provide the applications, and we are headset agnostic, so it can go on any headset. So a all-in-one system that is possibly out there, if a facility wants an all-in-one system, we can license our content to an all-in-one. Or if a facility wants to be solely managing their own headsets, they can purchase a headset and have our content on the headset. So it allows also, from an IT perspective in hospital systems, if they are concerned of, security issues or HIPAA or anything like that, we are trying to avoid those problems and allow the IT to feel comfortable with managing their own headsets and managing what goes on their headsets. Because that was one thing that we found, is IT is very safe with what they choose technology wise to put into their facilities. And if we can provide them with the tools to manage their own headsets, so if they would basically buy their own hardware, and our content would be content that is rehab related and clinically valid for them to be able to utilize in a healthcare setting, not just a game that they purchase off of the store. So what we found is there's facilities that want to manage and own their own headsets, but there just wasn't content available, and we are providing that content.
Interesting. So, if somebody, I guess the question is, do you need any kind of integrations with their other softwares, or I don't know, for documentation purposes? Do you have to do that, or this works as a standalone? And the second question is um, what's the typical implementation looks like? How long does it take? Let's say if they are ready with, hey, we got the hardware ready, we already have the security and everything set up. All we want is your content to be uploaded to our, how long does that take to go live?
So, so first, as far as integration, so we created our applications as standalone. They don't necessarily have to integrate with their EMR. That is one thing that is very difficult as far as it comes the HIPAA violations or HIPAA concerns when those come into play. But ultimately, there are all-in-one systems that license our content that have those integrations. But we also, as we continue to grow, that can be or it is, it not can, but it is one of our next steps as to figure out a safe and secure way to have those integrations for them if it is needed. But right now, our content is standalone. They can utilize it to treat their patients and then document what they need in their EMR, but there is no patient information going in or out of our content or our applications. But when it comes to the other aspect of actual implementation, once they have their headset, the ability to, depending on the headset, some headsets have their own management system. Some headsets need a management system like Arbor XR or Managed XR. But once they have their headset, we have the ability to just wirelessly transfer our content straight to their headset. So implementation wise, time wise, it's on their IT team to get everything signed off. Once it's signed off, it's instantaneous as far as content.
Nice. And I know this integration topic is always
It's
it's a
always
mess.
the fun one.
Yeah, it's a mess in health tech, especially more you work with health system and this thing. But
Yeah,
obviously, my hope is now with AI and everything, it's just
absolutely.
easier to, or maybe even faster to, at least, let's say nothing is easier in integration world.
Absolutely.
So it's going to be slightly faster, and that will help you. But uh, but it seems like, based on what you're saying, would you say, like, right now, just for your go-to-market strategy, it's better to work as a licensor of your content to existing vendors who are selling, headsets, and maybe they
So,
have integration into the health systems right now?
yep. So basically, we have the ability at this point, yes, with some all-in-one systems. But there are some health systems that are they've already purchased their own headsets. So it's kind of, we're taking those two pathways parallel to each other in regard to certain health systems want an all-in-one system because they want the ease of having everything in one place, whereas some healthcare systems want to manage their own headset because they want to know what's going on and off of it, and then having content that they trust to be put onto their headset. So we have kind of both right now going. But either way, I personally have worked with an all-in-one system, and it's wonderful and it's great. And I think there's great benefits to it. But I've also worked with an off-the-shelf headset that has rehab content, and it is just as wonderful as far as benefits to the patient. Ultimately, getting that patient immersed and moving and getting those higher repetitions and getting them in that system to be able to move more is going to help your patient no matter which way you choose.
And
It's
when
just
you
a matter of what you want, right?
Yeah,
So,
exactly. So now, specifically for the patient population, is there, or are there, a set of use cases or treatment types where you see, these we already know from the market, these are working great? What are those treatment types? Can you talk about those specifically, where the patients are already seeing value?
yes, yeah, absolutely. So obviously, you probably already know that the majority of the body of research is in stroke rehab. That's kind of where it all manifested and started from, right? That's our strongest body of research in the rehab physical therapy world. It shows the clearest clinical outcomes and the clearest benefits for the patient. But saying that, that expands to a lot of other neurologic diagnoses and disorders. So even though you have stroke rehab kind of leading the way, we are seeing that same growing evidence and same support for your Parkinson's patients, your spinal cord, your traumatic brain injury, your MS patients, and a lot of different neurologic conditions. But I wouldn't also, I know I'm probably saying we should treat everything this way. And honestly, I am, because we shouldn't sleep on orthopedic injuries as well, because what you need to realize when you're treating all these patients, neuroplasticity doesn't just exclusively work for neurologic disorders or diagnoses. That's brain's mechanism to retrain and heal and learn on it. It goes for orthopedic conditions as well. Also, the pain that you may have with orthopedic conditions, the distractionary piece of immersive healthcare, can truly benefit the pain and fear of movement that patients may have with orthopedic. So it is starting to show more research dabbling into ortho as well.
Is it?
But
Are you using this for younger populations too, like the kids as well,
so
or is it?
yeah, I would say probably as low as like 5 or 6 is the youngest I've seen in headsets, just to follow along with the application. But we do have a partnership with Kids, and they do provide our applications across many different hospitals that help with patients, pediatric patients, mainly within the oncology section or setting. But we've also had this in like inpatient rehabs where you're going to see 80 and 90-year-olds that are recovering from these neurologic strokes or Parkinson's in these systems as well. So, and honestly, with the pediatric population, I definitely see this in the coming years being, as the pediatric population gets older, being a very the main side of treatment because of the technology that these kids are growing up with. Um, Technology is surrounding their life, whereas like me, I kind of started in the technology world. Like we had computer labs at school, but no computers at home, and I started to learn that. I got my first cell phone when I went off to college. All these different things that I had to learn on the way, these kids have at such a young age. And I think because of that, as they get older, technology is going to eventually become one of those main treatment for patient care. But the elder population is still holding on to the love of being in these different nostalgic worlds and being able to see different things in an immersive way and not necessarily be in the hospital. So taking them out of that hospital helps them recover as well. And when it comes to the elder population. So I know I'm saying that it works well with every population, but I'm just seeing so much benefit from so many different patients, age-wise and diagnosis-wise.
And currently, can the patients take this to their homes through, and use it there for, especially for rehabs and at home? Can they do that right now?
Yeah. So if a patient, some facilities have done it where they will rent out a headset and allow patients to use it for, home exercise programs and then bring it back at the end of their care. Some patients who have their own headset, they can download applications and utilize it at home. Like our applications will also be on the Quest store. So if they have a MetaQuest headset, they can download our applications, if they've used it in PT and their therapist has used it with them and they have been discharged and want to continue it at home, they have that ability as well if they have a headset. So patients are able to use it in the comfort of their own home as well.
That's good. And if like what stage you are as a company, are you venture funded, or what's your financial operation looks like?
Yes. So currently right now we are in the process of pitching and looking for investors. Right now we are self-funded and we have at this point signed 2 deals at this point and that are very large, and we're moving forward with that. And we also have been writing grants and applying for grants and all the different avenues of funding. So we are heavy in the search for funding at this point. We did just start in November, but we have progressed very quickly. We've acquired all of the applications from our previous company called the Real System from Penumbra. So we acquired all those applications. So we have a very large catalog of physical rehabilitation applications. And we're moving forward at a pretty quick pace in that manner. So we're excited to see the next the next steps that we have.
Yeah. So really for you is the next step is to get the venture funding and then focus on scaling the operation. That's where you're heading.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. And how big is your team? What kind of like how big is your operation looks like
So
right now?
right now we have our 3 co-founders. One is an engineer, our CEO, Kristen. One is within the art. She manages our art design and development. Mai is our COO, and then myself, and then we have multiple. We have 3 engineers working with us, and then we also have a few other art designers as well on our team, and one developer working with the other engineers as well. So I think we have 10 now. So
Okay. Yeah. I mean, you know, it's early stage, right? You got to keep it
yeah,
lean, but also
yeah.
have to, get the things done. There's always going to be 10 things for each person to do right now. Early
And
stage.
we've had a wonderful group, and all of the people that are working with us, and most of them they either have known us from the past or have worked with us at our previous company, and they have all been in the mindset of we're here to help you, whether we stay with you guys or not. Like, this is what we want to do. So they've been super like amazing as far as it has been for a startup company like ourselves, and they really have been hands on, deep into the development process and the engineering process. And I really, I'm very thankful for every single one of them and all the time that they've provided with each application that we've created so far. So I'm very happy that they have provided the time that they have. So
That's good. What's the thing you would say, especially you're technically not from a tech background.
yes.
So how has that shaped your, leadership style as a co-founder?
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, I think in general, my leadership style, I would say, is I am always someone that likes to listen and learn, and also very empathetic of individuals just from the clinical background of treating patients. So I always like to have any of the individuals that I work with. I want to listen to what's going on. I want to truly understand what's going on before like decisions are made, or before I bring in any information as far as next steps, things like that. But I like to also be a problem solver on that side of things. So I will take that information, go out, research, get good background, evidence-based backgrounds, and research that support the different applications clinically. I try and come from a more patient-centered approach and a patient-centered viewpoint, because I want to make sure what we're creating is something that clinicians will use and patients will use, and not just from the tech side of things. And I think every single person that we're working with is on that same mindset. And that's why we've worked so well together in that side of things. But because of me being more of a clinical background and not as much in the tech side, I always like for them to explain things thoroughly to me before, having a full on decision being made. And I always like to research things and make sure that I understand it fully. So I am very much a listen and then move forward type of leadership style.
Yeah, no, that's good. It's also helpful to them, I guess, if you do that, right? Uh,
Yes.
um, it's what's been the hardest in your startup journey as a co-founder? What's been the hardest lesson, I guess?
So, in PT and I did home care for so long that, every day was different, right? And I thought that I would be used to that, the world of uncertainty because of that. The startup journey is so much more uncertain than I ever thought. And it's only been since November. So like when I mean the world of uncertainty in home care, I didn't know who my patient list was until 5 p.m. and then I would schedule it at 5 p.m. But there was a certainty is that I would have patients. I knew I would have patients every day, right? I just didn't know what times I would have to go to them, but the certainty was there were going to be patients. With startups, it is a much larger uncertainty that is coming towards you. And also you may think that something that this one thing's going to happen, or you're going to have these conversations today, or this is going to work with the application or the development, and something came up, and it also with development and engineers like testing and addressing different concerns in the applications. Everything is so uncertain that you have to pivot and shift so many times that I'm learning that and growing patience like with that. And honestly, I love it. I absolutely love it. So I've really enjoyed it, and I've learned so much in that way of how this startup is going. And honestly, I wouldn't change it for the world. So
It's funny. I actually, before starting this company, I did a couple of years trying to build MSO model in home care. And I'm not a clinician, right? So I come from the startup world and I go into this. My problems were like, oh, I can't see these kids like suffering like those things started to take toll on me, right? So I was starting to feel like, oh my God, it's remote Pennsylvania. We bought a site, we scaled it. So my problems were completely opposite of you. I can manage the chaos, but I can't deal with another, I don't
yeah,
know, not getting service or somebody like insurance is not working. And
yes,
at some point in time, I was burnt out of that. Like, I was like, oh my God, this is difficult. This is like
I
very hard.
know.
But it's funny, you are a clinician, so you're coming from the other side, right? And you're like,
Yeah.
this is like, there is a lot of, things moving parts in
Yeah,
startups.
I never knew that there were different styles of uncertainty, right? Because like
Yeah.
with patient care, obviously day to day, there's going to be some uncertainty behind like, how's your patient feeling today? Did they fall? Did they get injured? Is there something new that's come about? There's obviously some uncertainty to it, but this is a whole different style of uncertainty. And I've just embraced it, and I've been learning from it, and I have absolutely loved every step of the way. So
Yeah, yeah. All right, cool. This has been great. I want to conclude this conversation with a quick fire kind of round. So
absolutely.
whatever comes to your mind, share that answer. What's one piece of advice you would give your younger self before entering healthcare, if even before you start with PT?
Would say to not pigeonhole myself, because you never know what type of experiences you gain and the pathways it will take you on, and to not say no to those pathways, because I would have never ended up here if I would have said no 5 years ago. So I don't pigeonhole yourself. Don't make yourself think that you're only a physical therapist, because you're so much more. So
Yeah. No, I completely back this advice. I'm an example of that. I started my career as a engineer first. I was actually the one who wrote code for Fios TV. And
okay.
and then moved into completely opposite direction, turning into career into marketing, worked for Fortune 500 companies, then got out of that, worked for startups where early stage where we did make money for a couple of years to before started making money. So, and then,
Yes.
different startups and then bootstrap companies. So I've done all this like in different. If I would ever just stay still, I would be here where I am. And I love what I do now. And this is just because of all that I've gone through, right? So that's what it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I would 100% back that advice. Like this is with evidence, like healthcare. One startup mistake you will never repeat after this little experience that you've had.
I know. I read this question and I was like, honestly, I don't know if we've made any major mistakes
Mm.
because it's so early on.
Yeah.
I can maybe get back to you on this answer
Yeah. Yeah.
as we continue to grow.
Yeah.
But we have had so many great advisors that have kind of built a good understanding of what path and what step to take. I feel like as we're getting into the funding and investor world and as we're going there, I may have an answer in the future, but I'm hoping that we are one of the few startups that may never have a mistake. That's my hope. Fingers crossed, right?
Yeah, like I like to say it like mistakes will always happen, but the scale of it is
Yeah.
hopefully
Hoping it's a
hopefully
small one.
calculated. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Just there is room to just course correct always. That's it. That's what you need. Mistakes will always happen, right? So
Yes.
uh, cool. And one last question. So one thing that you have never shared with anyone in your professional circles, and this is the thing, could be anything appropriate that you feel like sharing. What would that be? This is your chance to tell to the world. What would that be?
You know, it's funny. I, as you probably have known over the past hour that we've been almost talking, I'm very much an open book, and anybody who wants to ask me a question, I will happily tell you anything about my life or anything about my like my journey. So and any of my friends that you would ask, I'm sure they would say, "No, we know everything about Emily." So I could, I'm trying to think of anything that I have never shared, and
I can give you some hints.
you
People
know,
share like stuff like, I have this hobby where I collect musical instruments from 300 countries, and then they even learn it and play it. So random, but you never know. So
no, I don't know if I see. Everybody knows that I play volleyball and I coach volleyball. Everybody knows that I listen to murder podcasts as I drive down the street for going from
that's a good
place
one.
to place as I travel. You know, I those are probably those are the more personal things, but when it comes to work, I'm genuinely an open book, and honestly, if anybody has questions or is wondering about me, I am happy to answer them.
All right. That's good. So, where can people reach out to you or connect with you if they want to connect with you and reach out?
Yeah, absolutely. So, my work email is edavis, and my last name has two S's, so it's EDAVISS at AVRwell.com. You can reach out to me even at our website, AVRwell.com, or find me on LinkedIn. I'm anywhere as far as that goes. I'll answer any questions or any messages that you may send me. So I'm always happy to talk. I always think community over competition. I always want to help out and we're better as a group and not as an individual. So
Yeah. And we will put all this information in the show notes wherever you get this episode from. You will have this information, and you can connect with Emily. And they are planning to raise funding. So our show is actually quite a VC favorite show. There's a lot of interest and stories comes out of that. So if you are hearing, we'll have that information. Reach out to me. I can connect you with Emily as well. And last thing that I was about to mention was something Emily touched. This is my personal belief now, especially in healthcare world. It is an infinite game. Like everybody, the pie is infinite. Everybody can be there, and that's also one of the mottos that I followed building this media network. That I wanted to create a network working with providers as well as companies, and we build our shows for, and we offer media solutions, and we create a podcast network where we do done for you services, and we work with everyone in the healthcare ecosystem with this thinking that bigger problems are solved when we can bring everyone under one umbrella, right? So, and that's
absolutely.
healthy, right? So, on this note, thanks again for taking time, sharing your story. And of course, you're welcome back to tell your story again whenever
Absolutely.
you would like to. And again, appreciate you not only sharing your journey just from before you start building your company, and of course, best wishes. And we hope this company goes bigger and bigger. We are absolutely, gung-ho about it, what you're doing.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so very much. And I'm so excited for the future and the next steps. So